It's the end of September now at the moment, and the UK is having a bit of a mini heat wave. So, with the washing on the line and everything drying and making the most of the weather, I thought I'd take you around the garden and show you what's been growing really well this year in the season of 2024. I'm not going to do the plants in any particular order, but let's start with one of the plants that's grown the biggest this year, and that is the Tetrapanax. This was a plant that I planted out only 2 years ago, and it started this year with one tiny little stem, which was probably 6 inches high. And if you look now on some of these leaves, they're easily probably almost 3 foot across. We haven't had the best of summers this year, but this plant has done really well in the garden. And it's starting to overtake a bit, and the plan is that hopefully in a few years, when the trunk gets a little bit taller, it'll grow up and I'll be able to walk underneath it so it won't be in the way of the pathway. When I come out of my back door and walk down the garden path towards the greenhouse, the first plant to greet me is this Euphorbia John Phillips, and what a size has gone on this year. This started out as 2 small stems, and this year it is probably 6 foot across now. We only had 1 flower on it, but it's a beautiful plant and it seems to enjoy it here right in the centre of the garden. And it has been absolutely beautiful this year. The size on each stem is absolutely wonderful. No tropical garden would be complete without at least a few Trachycarpus virginiae, and I've got a few dotted around my garden, and all of them have done quite well this year. Most of them were started off in pots before I planted them into the ground, but some of them have been new additions this year. They do seem to be quite hardy in the UK and definitely in South Wales where I'm living, and they overwinter very well with no protection whatsoever. I've also got a few bamboos dotted around in the garden, and this one is a Robusta Campbell. There are 2 different types of bamboos, running and clumping, and all of the ones that are in my garden planted in the ground are the clumping forms, which basically means that they won't run all over the place and cause a lot of havoc in neighbours' gardens, and I won't be digging them up and trying to control them. So I haven't got any barriers on my bamboos, as I don't really think that I need them, with them being the clumping forms. But all of them this year have done really well. Most of them are Fargesia rufas, and they really do add a lot of interest throughout all the seasons in the tropical garden. The only running form of bamboo that I do have is this golden bamboo, and I keep this in a pot so that it doesn't run all over the place. And this year it has definitely put on some size and is easily, I would say, 8 foot tall this year. This Fargesia rufa was planted out about 2 years ago as a very small plant, and it's now grown to a size of about 6 to 7 foot across, and it's really filled out the border. There's also a few small plants of the Fargesia rufa that I use to edge the pathways, and I think they look lovely. The roses have also done well this year, and it's the first year that I've been growing roses in the garden. So the plants haven't really grown that large, but we have had some beautiful blooms in the garden. We also grow Musa Basjoo hardy banana in the garden, and we started off last year with 3 plants, and this year is the first year that we've had some pups, and we've had 4 pups and all of them are growing really well, and it'll soon be time to overwinter these and get them through any cold weather. The dahlias are still doing well in their pots, but during the summer, in the midsummer, we did have some lovely displays. The Crocosmia flowers did really well this year, and they have really extended over most of the garden to fill in any gaps. And in the summer months when they were in full flower, they were truly beautiful. You also can't beat some grasses for adding that tropical look in the garden. And last year I bought a few different ones, such as miscanthus and also some arundodonnax, which is some Spanish cane. Last year it didn't do too well, but this year it's got way over my head at about 8 foot tall. I love the variegated leaves on this plant, and it adds lots of interest in the garden. The Salvia have also done really well this year, and they've been like a magnet to the bees. They're still flowering now in mid-September. This is the biggest Salvia that I got, and it's still in full bloom. Beautiful colour on these. And this one here is the smallest one. This is the newest edition, and this is Salvia Cherry Lips, which is a dark purple. I also grew a papyrus plant this year for the first time. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this though over the winter months. Probably either bring it inside as a house plant or pop it in the greenhouse for overwintering, as I know they're not hardy here in the UK. This year has been the first year of me actually having a greenhouse in the garden, and I've really enjoyed spending my time in here. I've got a few cuttings that are going on in the greenhouse at the moment, and if you remember, I planted these small Ioniums a few weeks ago. Well, they do seem to be growing. They haven't died yet. The pepper plants are still going. Lovely colour on these now. Lovely golden orange. And we've still got a few tomatoes. The cucumber plants have come to an end now, so I've got rid of those. But there is a lovely view from inside the greenhouse, outside into the garden. If you remember last week, we added the trellises onto the top of the wall, and we've now added the centerpiece. I moved my jasmine plant, which is planted in the ground. This was down the bottom end of the garden, but I made a bit of a mistake. I bought a new jasmine plant to put here, and then realised that I bought a deciduous one, which means that it'll lose all its leaves throughout the winter, which is not what I wanted. So I moved this evergreen one here, and I've just tied it up, and hopefully this will grow now to fill all of this wooden trellis. The deciduous one that I bought for over the other side of the garden, I've planted in the ground just outside the greenhouse and put it against this older trellis and tied it up with some gardening string to hold it, and hopefully this will grow nice now and add a little bit of colour outside the greenhouse during the summer months. The Clematis in the pot is back in its original place against the pillar next to the tiki bar, as this trellis wasn't really put up that well, so we have added a batten now to the wall, and hopefully it'll stay up throughout the winter weather. The Yucca Rostrata was also a new addition to the garden this year, and we've got it potted up in a terracotta pot. We had to move it from the bottom end of the garden as it was getting full around the trunk with bits of conifer debris. So we had to clean it up, and we've now placed it by the back door so it's out of the way of the wind. And it's done really well this year. It's really grown, and I'm quite surprised just how big and wide this plant has got since we purchased it. You may well remember the garden disaster when the garden wall fell down back in March last year. Well, the Phormium that's in the corner was taken right down back to the ground, and look at the growth on it now. It's probably 4 to 5 foot tall. In one season, I can't believe the growth that this plant and how healthy it's looking. A few months later, absolutely brilliant news. I'm so pleased, as this was my favourite plant in the garden. This Eucalyptus gunny plant behind, I've got planted in the corner. This was bought last year from the garden centre. It cost me £3. And look how tall. It keeps on going on and on. Just look how tall this plant is. I wouldn't like to say how tall it is, probably 12, 14 foot tall in one season. It hasn't all been good news though this year. The plum tree that we've got in the triangular bed, although it's put on a lot of growth, it failed to give us any plums this year. There's 2 years on the row now that we haven't had any fruit from this tree. The Ricinus plants this year have also been quite poor with size. Last year they grew to a good 6 foot, maybe taller, but this year we've been very lucky to get 2 to 3 feet out of them. But never mind, I'll try again next year. thank you so much for visiting my garden today, and until next time, I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.